What's good, fam? On today's episode of D&D, we discuss the fundamentals of fundraising, why it's important and how you can go about acquiring it, and the reasoning behind why people even need fundraising to scale their business or to grow. So sit back and don't forget to dial and help us help you discover.
What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of D&D, and that's Dial and Discover. I'm Calvin Mercy, and I'm sitting with my brother, Siam Klumu.
What's
How
up,
you doing,
bro?
my boy?
Bless, my brother. How you doing?
Good. No, I'm good, bro.
Yeah?
I'm good.
Soft.
I think the week has been good. I'm super excited just like at the pocket that we in and the flow.
Yeah.
I feel like just the past episodes, the way we move
Oh, man.
right now.
I'm really loving it.
How's your week been so far? How are things flowing?
Um,
Stretch pretty much, as we've said.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a good week. I think it's been a very, very good week. It's getting very rowdy. You know what I'm trying to say?
Okay.
Just coming off the chat we had the last time about the whole Springboks brand. I think it was like 2 episodes ago. Man, is the South African brand booming right now?
My brother, like still, I think my thing is that just the back to back, week after week, there's whatever on it, and it's crazy wherever this build up came from. Now it's just everything is just getting unlocked back to back. So what have you seen more recently?
Obviously looking at the Grammy nominations. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's really a real thing. I think also looking at just the ripple effects of the recognition more than anything.
Yeah.
You know, I think people being able to recognize it's like, yo, actually, there's something going on over there, you know? Because obviously our whole chat was the emphasis behind our branding, how we branded, but then we also took it to taking it to the world. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And yeah, so right now it's just really great to see the world kind of give us that reception that we're looking for when we take it. Because it's one thing to take something out, and it's a whole different thing to not get a reception back. You know what I mean?
Yes. Which is like, I think that's just the important part, like that indicator that the world is really receptive to what we have to offer.
Right.
Which is interesting because, I mean, we've been on this narrative that Africa's the new this and the third, like everybody's coming to Africa,
100%.
you know, that narrative around there, which is really just facts. And I think this is just one of those aspects that prove it. And like our whole point of, our previous conversation was that it's just across the board.
Yeah.
It's not just only in sports and music. It's in business. It's across every channel that if you're producing a product or service at a certain standard, at a global standard, you will basically be able to get into, and now you've got a higher chance just on the fact that there is this recognition around where we're from right now.
Right.
That we're producing products and essentially content or services that can service the world and not just our people. Which is something I feel like we just had to grow towards. Because I mean, you have guys like America and Europe who've mastered that. The Middle East mastered that fast. Where they're able to service the world. When you step into that, they standards are at that level. Including people like China as well. Right. And I feel like that was also our thing, And I want to just mention this. Like, I was in a conversation some time back when I'm thinking about it, and this lady says, we need to stop this thing of trying to build products for the world and just focus on ourselves. Produce products for ourselves, right? But I just felt like that's just one-sided though. Right? Because you can produce products for the community you're in, for the country you're in. But then you're then limited to just that.
Well, that's very interesting. I think let's just delve into that for a couple of seconds. If we look at, let's go to the tech side of things, right? A product, you can build a local product that has global success, which is predicated on the need globally.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you look at how Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook, it was for the dogs. It was literally for him and his bros on campus.
Yeah.
So they could have the platform to talk their stuff or whatever, you know what I mean? And then somebody else kind of came and said, yo, what you guys on? You know what I mean? Then it became a campus platform. So now whether it goes to gossip or whatever direction, but now people in this small community are communicating on this platform he created. So he created a local solution to a local problem, which in retrospect was a global problem or solution.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So now people around the world are like, actually, let's also bamba this chat. So it goes from campus to the city, to the country, to the world, and then it kind of grows like that. So I guess there's two sides to every coin, like that lady. Also, I think there's a part of her that's right. You know, if we look at quickly in the music or acting space, it's almost like develop your community here first and go out with it. That's how Nigeria kills it.
100%.
Because the diaspora is the main advocates. But if it wasn't banging for Nigerian pidgin language or their melodies and flows, it was even going to pick up that community and then they kind of go out and sell it to the world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah.
I get what you're saying in hindsight.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. So you're basically saying that, and from the example you made, sometimes essentially it's the fact that that problem you're solving in the community or in the country also happens to be a problem or in another country.
Yes.
A problem that you could be solving in another country.
Right.
And so you kind of will work out your kinks or whatever as you develop and grow.
Yes.
And I think the tech example is a very good one. The tech example is a very good one because at the level that you can scale tech, right? So it's essentially like if you've got a tech concept or whatever, like if you can solve it in your community or in your country first, then expand from there.
Yeah.
Essentially, right?
Yeah.
The tech chat is also just so interesting. And I was just thinking now with us saying, SA being in the trajectory that it's in right now, I think the tech space in SA is also very interesting. And I've been picking up on a few artists here and there, and we do a few moves in Cape Town, and certain associates, etc. Understanding just like how that space moves, and especially right now when we're talking about the world looking at us and looking into the country, like, yo, what else is happening in South Africa, right? What else does South Africa have to offer? So I read this article about a tech company in SA.
Okay.
Raising, over like 600 million.
Rands.
Pretty much.
Hectic.
Right? In a specific run. So you have like the series of runs that tech companies would do.
Right.
So in that specific run.
Yes.
I just found that to be very interesting. And it's not even the first time I hear about this concept, of course. But I was just like, I think it's very interesting, the fundraising conversation, and which we've never really had across the board in different spaces. And especially, some of the spaces that we're in outside of the tech space, you don't really hear about fundraising a lot. And which is why I wanted us to just have that conversation, to just be like for you, the fundraising chat, my question was, why is it not a thing in other business?
Yeah.
Other business aspects.
Yeah.
Or other types of businesses.
Yeah.
Other places outside of a tech, or I think there are probably maybe a handful of businesses that can do fundraising.
Absolutely.
Or that do it. Let me rather say not that can do it,
They
do it actively.
Yeah.
Right? What's the difference between, you know what I'm saying? I think that was a question that popped up when I read that article.
Yeah, yeah. It's very interesting. Now that you ask it, there's so many ways to answer the question. I think number one, it depends where you're from. You know what I mean? So if we're keeping it local, our biggest problem is financial literacy.
Oof.
Across the board. You know what I mean?
Damn, you're into the root.
The roots. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So if I haven't been to grade 1, which is, save your money, probably don't put it under the mattress, put it in an account. It's going to grow over a couple of times.
That's funny for many reasons.
Yeah. Right. Especially in this country. So when you look back in retrospect, we could call that financial literacy kind of grade 1. The investments and venture capitalist elements and funding and whatever, that's like grade level matric. our bros haven't even finished the first couple of
It's
grades.
even varsity, bro.
It's even varsity at the actual fact, because your
'Cause
fundamental
you talk about
phase,
valuation.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is comes off the core of your first couple of lessons.
Mm.
So that's one core issue. But let's pretend that's not a thing. Let's pretend we're all matriculated in financial literacy. So then it comes into this
But
world.
look, valid point, please, bro.
Yes.
Such a valid point.
Yes.
You know, because you're answering towards what I'm thinking about right now.
Mm.
The majority of our business, the sector of the business in South Africa is like a lot of SMMEs.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a lot of SMMEs, and I think that's already just an indicator that like that of the reflection of their financial literacy. So we don't have a lot of conglomerate companies that are huge, etc. We have a few, and the majority of our business space is SMMEs. So I get what you're saying, or just already off that part in terms of the information that's available or not available, the information that we have.
Yeah, very limited.
On finances.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Very limited. Then we get into the businesses that have developed. You know, I think what's very special about tech is the infrastructure that is built on. In most cases, tech is the type of business that is created to scale, because a lot of people don't scale because they won't be able to handle the scale. Like if I'm selling eggs on the road every morning for people who are going to the taxi rank, you know, I can almost predict how many sales I can run between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m.
Okay.
Just based on how many hands I have and how quick I can take the egg out, take the money, put it in, and the next person walks through, you know?
Yeah.
So if I had 10 million people waiting for those eggs between 6 and 8, I won't be able to service all of them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Kind of like the supply and demand sort of element.
100%.
So with tech, because the business is created to scale, because it runs off of a device and not necessarily physically having to handle that service.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because you the scale space is a lot larger.
It's a lot larger.
Yeah.
You know? Hence Zuckerberg could go from 5-6 people. All he needs to do is increase the bandwidth to service 60 more people. But he might need a bag for that, because he might need servers in Atlanta or servers in
100%.
California to maintain the speed, etc. You know? So I think coming into normal businesses, first element, people don't know that they can actually get funding. Because if you look at it, if you break down the core of the word, what is fundraising?
Yeah, because there's a difference between fundraising and having an investment or getting an investment.
Yes.
Because that's also another form of receiving a large portion of funds.
Right. They're actually probably cousins.
Okay.
You know, because if the core of it is what is fundraising, it's raising funds. Be it for business, be it for projects. People fundraise to go on like trips, high school, go by donation, just want to,
we
you know what I mean?
Yeah, we used to do that. What is that stuff? Yeah, we sell
feed the babies, raffle
tickets,
for,
and all of that, and you fundraise.
That's fundraising, you know? So that's the core of it. So essentially, in an ideal situation, when you start a business, you know, people speak about build capital, which means build the money that you can inject into the business / raise the funds that are needed. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, for sure.
If I'm looking at my business, I'm saying, I need 2 million rand, but I only got 200,000 rand. I need to go on a fundraising mission, which could be different. I'm going on a capital run where I shut down every single thing, and all I'm doing is working this job so I can get money, or rendering services to get the money, and then come inject it into my business, raise my own funds, and move on to the next phase. Or I go look for somebody who has the money, which I think that's when the conversation of
the investment part,
it
switches
comes in.
now to that, because the investment being you're getting a certain fund to give away some equity.
So let's delve on that now.
Yeah.
So if you don't have your own funds, or you can't raise your own funds, you must go look for people who are going to give you the funds.
Yeah, who have the money.
Who have the money.
Who can find it.
But then what are you giving them in return becomes the question.
The equity chat comes in now.
That's more often that.
Right.
It's either a loan, I give you 30,000.
And you need to pay it back with whatever interest.
Yeah. Which is based on negotiation.
Yeah, 100%.
Or I know that based on what you're doing on your vision, if you make 50,000, instead of bringing it back to me, inject it back in the business, let me just get a piece of the business.
Yes.
You know?
A piece.
Yeah, which is investment for equity. You know? So I think most of these people who are in Silicon Valley or running these tech companies, they are almost like friends with the venture capitalist companies because their whole job as a venture capitalist company or venture firm, whatever it's called, is to look for people who need the money.
Yeah, and essentially venture capitalists hold a large sum of money and their whole task is to inject it into different businesses. For short-term or long-term returns
based on their strategy,
right? Which I think that's even for me just the interesting part of the fact that you see that concept just being such an American concept, but in SA it's a thing. I think it was incredible learning that Black Coffee's established a company like that, and which is powerful just even as an artist. And you guys can go do a little bit of research on that, but he owns a company that owns equity in several companies. One of the most interesting ones for me, and I think it's just so powerful, is Yoko. Even that, so that's where I think I first even just for SA's progress.
Exactly.
And hence I've marked this thing that in SA there's this thing that's happening that we kind of are not talking about, that we're not so far-fetched from successful tech companies ourselves, right? We consume so many products or so much product out from outside that you kind of would think we're so far-fetched from that concept. But even in itself is just the concept of raising funds for a business to then grow or scale, or then being in an investor conversation, which is also just the whole thing of owning 30% of something that is large and huge, or 30% of something that's making 100 million or 100 billion is better than owning 100% of nothing.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think these guys understand that.
Clearly.
Because we have this thing where we just feel like we need to own 100%, my man.
And this thing comes from that other thing that we don't have, which is education. Do you know what I mean? You need to understand that the biggest cripple that we might have as Black South Africans is the core of Bantu education and the apartheid system.
My people perish because of a lack of knowledge?
Simply.
Okay.
So you can't even begin to fight a battle you don't know you have.
That you don't know you're in?
Or even have. In or have.
Okay.
Probably in.
Yeah, right?
Probably in.
Yeah.
Probably in.
Because what we're saying is that most people don't know that is their challenge.
That's their challenge.
Yeah.
So it goes from primary phase into the deepest elements, in so many ways,
Yeah.
That's a whole conversation in itself. But you can never go and get ARVs if you don't know you're HIV positive.
That's good.
More so if you don't even know HIV exists.
Yes, that's what we're actually talking about.
That's what we're actually talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the venture capitalists and investments, all that, that's an ARV chat. That's saying, I know I have a problem.
That's a solution.
That's a solution. To a problem you have because you've checked it out.
Yeah.
To a problem before that you know exists because you've been informed.
That's good.
Right?
That's good.
So reeling it back to this, the biggest problem is the branding. I feel a lot more comfortable with my chest as a Black person to say, I own a business.
Yes.
Gumpati mean.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? I'm a CEO. But how much you making though?
That's the question. I think it's crazy how the different worlds translate that.
Yeah.
In the other world, when I say I own 20% of that land, I own 20% of that and I make $1 million a year off that. Versus I own 100% of it. I make less than, I'm just barely scraping 100,000 a year.
But I own 100%.
But I own 100% of it.
Yes. Right?
That's crazy, right?
It's wild. So if you take that thought that you're on, this is when the investment conversation becomes very, very interesting. Because sometimes your only reason for investing doesn't rely on money alone.
Okay.
Most of the times, especially in tech, but let's come down to normal. Let's use a practical example.
Yeah, because I really want us to head in that direction. I'm trying to see the practicality of other avenues. If I own a bakery, where does this chat land for me?
So so which is why it's so powerful. I wish that we can have the whole world listen to this conversation because lives could change. You know what I mean?
Could change, brother.
So ideation, which is the core, I think that we need a bakery.
Yes.
Well done, Kelvin.
Yeah.
Now what? Do you know how to bake? No. Okay, nice. That's the first thing you need to be able to do. If you have an idea, you go straight to execution. So a lot of people are great at the ideation phase. I think we need to have the bakery. Okay, where now, brother? Maybe next to ShopRite. Terrible idea. Because ShopRite sells 10,000 other things that are baked goods, and they're rocking you with supply chain and logistics and whatever and pricing.
whole thing.
Forget about it. So even that already says, I need somebody to tell me where I can place this thing. That could maybe be a business strategist or a consulting company to say, okay, based on your idea, practically, just as simple as location. Maybe we should put it MoMA section 35, go wherever. That doesn't have bakeries or any type of baked goods 35 kilometers on either side of it.
Yeah, less competition around it.
Less competition around. You know what I mean? That's already a skill you might not have as someone who has the idea at the core of it, right? So without skipping too many steps, great. Calvin comes with an idea. What do we need to do to execute? Get someone to help us strategize, right? In that strategy session, it then's going to come down to location. Cool, we got that. What does the branding look like? What's our messaging? Cool, we got that.
For sure.
Who is baking? Ish, we need a baker. CVs, looking for best bakers, whatever. CVs go out, we get the baking ladies, they bake, and then we take the good ones, put them in. That's hiring now. Do you know what I mean? But like, just because you have the idea, most of our people love the control.
Yes.
Because it's the same thing of the 100% of owning this business.
Yes.
So there is ownership, right? Which this is my operation, this is my business, you know. Coming to the example, you used Dance Studio, right? But then there's different layers of your role in that business. So lots of people love saying that, my brother, an entrepreneur is a person who can come up with an idea, ideationist, move like this, operate, build a team or whatever the case is, and move. They say that if you can't stay in your business, or if you leave your business for 3 months and it doesn't move without you, you're self-employed, my brother.
Yeah.
Because that thing doesn't operate outside of you. You know? So it's like most of the time the scaling conversation becomes difficult there because it's like, if I leave, it's not operating. And that often becomes, or it's a result of two critical things. You need to develop your system.
Yes.
Okay, so when it comes to this dance studio, Mom Ruby will clean the floors, similar to the bakery thing. She will bake. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The studio here, Mom Ruby will clean the floors. When I have 1, 2, 3 instructors come in to instruct, Mang will do the administration, take the bookings, finance will handle this. The owner now can afford to leave for 3 months.
And just be an owner.
Because they built the system and delegated it.
Yep.
So build the system, delegate.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? The scale chat is it's almost like a, I wouldn't say it's a dream, but it's not the holy grail. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
It's almost a result of knowing what's actually important.
100%.
If that makes sense.
100%.
Yeah.
I think the scaling thing also, the key element of what you're mentioning is resources. Right? So firstly, it's a question of like, where are you trying to take this thing?
Yeah.
If we go back to the example of me selling eggs at a taxi rank or at a mall, right? If I'm trying to just hit 1,000 Rand profit from this tray or whatever, I'm just making an example with the numbers there.
Yeah.
That could be just it. That's my hustle.
And I hit my target.
1,000, I hit my target. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm looking at him and I'm like, yo, that guy could probably go in and be supplying eggs to all the supermarkets or whatever in the area. That's how I'm looking at it, right? But he's probably just like, yo, I'm cool with my 1,000 Rand. It gets me to where I need to go. So depending on you, so that means he doesn't need a guy to source out the cheapest eggs in the market. He doesn't need a guy to bring the whatever. He'll go source. He'll go pick them up. He doesn't need a guy to sell. He'll sell.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? There's no scaling there.
Yes.
But if you're saying, dance studio example, I want a dance studio franchise. Different conversation. Right? Now you need to look at what Sia's saying now.
Yeah.
You need to look at what resources do I need for this thing here to work so I can go open the second one over there. If you're hitting it like that.
And the resources are to fill the pivots of the system you developed. Because even with franchising,
for sure.
it's that, right?
Yes.
You're scaling because you're taking the intellectual property that we created as this KFC, Secret Spice, chicken here, get Mom Ruby, this branding, and you say, my brother, bomb it like this. This is the formula. Pay for it and you can open your own division. We'll give you the IP. We'll give you the secret formula. We'll hire your own stuff. Here's the system. Here's the build-up, which is then coming back to what you're speaking about now when it comes into people investing into the business
that's
and what that looks
land
like.
Right. So I was basically going to say now, if I'm like, okay, I want to now go franchise this thing and open 2 of these shops or 3 more.
Yeah.
Now I punch in the numbers. But you see, for you to scale to 2nd or 3rd, you need to know how much first costs you.
Right.
Most people don't know how much first costs them. Then you're already running, you're running that first one by yourself. You're still in it, and then you wanna, while you're here running this one, you wanna go open the second one.
Another one. Yeah.
That doesn't work.
Their agenda.
So if you're able to work on the first one and able to know exactly how much it's costing you, how much, where you hit the profit margins, when you do this, the profits go up, when you do that, and that's from I'm watching this whole thing moving because I'm putting in systems in place and I'm putting in processes in place and it's doing this. Then that's where the scaling conversation, depending on what you have, you can go sit with an investor.
Absolutely.
And say, look, this is what I'm looking at. These are my profit margins. Essentially, this is how much I'm making monthly, is how much I'm making yearly. I've ran this thing for 3 to 5 to 6, 7 years. And now I'd like to open 2, 3 more stores because I've seen the demand in this here area like this. And then you can say, if I can get X amount, it'll give me enough to open the stores. It give me enough to have salaries for the year or whatever the case is. While we focus on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I need X amount.
Right.
And that guy might say, okay, cool, I have it, but I need 30%, 35%,
yes,
20%,
yes,
5%, depending on how much you're making. I mean, the higher your profit margins are, the lower you actually need to give the equity.
True.
Actual fact.
True.
So I think then that's what makes the conversation interesting, and people knowing that option is there, right? And that's the simplicity of, okay, let's go and let me ask the question and answer, like, where do I find an investor? Essentially, you're basically looking for somebody who might be liquid, or who might have access to money. So that might come in the form of somebody in a community, or come in the form of another bigger entity. You know what I'm saying? That might be looking to acquire or assist other types of businesses, etc.
Yes.
Sometimes then you go down the venture capitalist route. You look at companies that's what they want to do. They just invest.
And I think that is more so on the financial investments. Right. Which I totally agree. So what then happens, maybe we can use scaling as our clutch, because essentially the reason you want to bring more people into the 100% of the pie you have is for growth. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So in this case, growth is synonymous to scaling. It's all a synonym, right?
For sure.
But we're just trying to go harder.
Yeah.
So coming back to that lady who is starting the bakery, you know, she's going to look for people for the skills and to delegate it, whatever. But there's another form of investment, because investment is just like, how can I help? How can I help take this thing further to achieve the goal to grow, right? So some people's investments come in the form of skills and not a cash injection. So another woman can be like, oh, you got a bakery, mama. You know, I actually have 5 machines at home that bake. I have 2 aunties who are phenomenal at this thing over here. So instead of you going out there based on the system or plan or that you derived, we need 100,000, let me give you my resources for free.
Quote unquote.
No,
but actually not.
It's not for free.
Let me give you that in exchange for this.
So it's a value exchange, you know? So that, again, it then comes down to negotiation. So that lady can say, so I want to come in as a partner to this business.
Yeah.
I'll bring the machines. I'm going to bring the staff to work this thing. And I actually have an uncle who does branding, whatever the case is, so he can help you and whatever the case is. I want 50%. Then you have to kind of go back and look at your evaluation and say, what does 50% take away from me? And what does it potentially give me?
Yes, that's good.
And that's where most people get it confused.
That's good.
That's why we want to hold on to the 100.
Yes. Because you feel like, wow, just bring in machines and the uncle for 50%.
That's too much.
Interesting. I mean, while we're on this part of it, essentially the deal between Diddy and Ciroc is that he offers his brand power and brand power in the market
Yes.
in exchange for equity. In exchange for equity. And I think that was also just like one of the most powerful equations as well. And just like an example of how you can navigate without that money spent having built or being able to bring something that can make the other party money as well, or essentially help the equation make money, right? So I really mess with that as well, like just that part of the education, because most people don't know that you're able to do that by actual fact, that you're able to have the conversation of a financial and you're able to have a conversation of resources.
Yeah.
Right. And those things get discussed, because the end goal of the chat becomes, is this going to elevate and have our business running
and grow?
In this case, it just means now you're not going to have to spend the money on the machines now. Right. You have the 5 machines type of thing.
Right.
Which for me, that would actually be solid. Maybe the percentage split, not necessarily.
Yes.
Type of thing.
Yes.
But like you said, that goes down to negotiation.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's really that big thing of, owning 50% of something that's worth 10 million or 100 million is far better than owning 100% of something that's just worth 10,000.
Absolutely.
Right? I think for me, it was very incredible finding out that, for example, Jeff Bezos only owns 11% of Amazon. I think that's crazy. And that thing never leaves my mind. He owns 11% of Amazon.
Yeah.
And at the point that he owned 11%, that's when he netted. The simplicity of it is that he basically spent years building the value. And I just want to add this part as well as we close. Building the value of that 1% and being able to sell it off every time. So sometimes you might do that money exchange and give away that 25 or 30%, and you're still holding on to 70. If you can build the value of that 1% or the 10% essentially in the business, as you keep going and you're giving off another 10 or another 20, it increases the value of the whole business.
Absolutely.
Because now you're able to scale and get to the next level and the next level.
Absolutely.
And by the time you look back after you've peeled off 90% of that 100, you're worth 150 billion.
Absolutely.
Which is insane.
Which is ridiculous.
And like you're saying, it's a whole nother conversation. But the possibilities are there, and that's the space we also live in right now, and the capabilities. I think more than anything, it's for people to go in and just do homework on this. The fact that the resources are there. And I mean, yes, there is the tricky part about our government and government fundraising, etc. But there's a private sector part of this.
Absolutely.
The fundraising and the investing part.
Yeah.
That's big, and are looking for businesses that are profitable. Some guys just want to put money where they'll get money in return. It's not about whether we're selling little bottles, we're selling bottle caps, we're selling elastics. It's not about what is being sold. It's about the profit margins. And if you're in a business that's making money, you can essentially pitch that and essentially be able to scale to a business that's very successful, not just in the country you're in and the community you're in, but globally.
Absolutely. And I think there's just so many layers to this, it could be a whole series in retrospect,
I think there's just so much more, like you're saying, and it's one of those conversations where it's like, you wanna, how we make the calls that we make. It's one of those where I think speaking to somebody that's in that world deep would be just so interesting.
Right. Yeah. So, assuming, again, coming back to where we're scaling it based on education as a reference, if the venture capitalist chat or the investment chat or whatever is tertiary level, I think it's worthwhile just maybe taking the last couple of minutes to really delve into the core elements that people can at least go out and look into when it comes to the attributes you need to possess to even be in position to start having those chats, because in 2023, as much love as I have for you, I can't take your word for it.
Sure.
So if you say, I started a bakery, we've made 10,000 Rand in the past 3 months, we have 40 customers every single day, I'm going to want to see that tangibly, somehow, somewhere.
For sure.
Data. Preparing yourself.
Super key.
Super, super key.
Yeah.
So the data that you're definitely going to need at the core of it all, have a proof of concept of your business. If you're selling cakes, show us the cakes you're selling at least. some customer reviews. Reviews is a big space in this world.
Yep.
Hello Pete and sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's also one of the cheapest ways to get access, by the way, to the digital platforms and kind of getting noise is referrals and referrals, recommendations, which is the same thing, but reviews. We're not going to take a lot, and I want to buy a cheap Chinese charger. I need to see how many people are saying what about this charger. You know, so over and above the product and the packaging and the price point, my main point of reference is what's Calvin's comments.
Yeah.
Ish, I bought this thing after 3 days it was dead. Okay. What are someone else's comments? I got it, but I was missing a cable. So you kind of make a decision based on other people's experiences, you know? So when building a business, make sure you have those references and referrals from the finance to the proof of concept. How much are we making? We definitely need to explore financial literacy as a whole. We've been saying this.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And I think, so we'll still touch on the fundraising and investing.
Yeah.
But the financial literacy as a foundation,
Key.
and then kind of bring it and tie it back again for everybody to see how the two
levels
link and connect,
yes,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think we have a very vast audience, you know, and it's important for us to be cognizant of that.
For sure.
Business is the same across the board, bro. That's how I feel. You know, I think the only thing that changes is execution. Whether you're selling a rugby team like brand Springboks, or whether you're selling cakes, there's certain elements that will apply. You know what I mean? We've spoken about them over and over again. You know, one, product, packaging, distribution. Number two, understand your target audience, who you're selling to. Number three, understand your space, market share. There's a whole bunch of different things that stay the same.
Yeah.
You know, the Springboks' ability to sell that jersey depends on the quantity of fans they're engaging. Yeah. So the work they do outside of the marketing to engage the fans is hella critical to the bottom line of the rugby team. You know, in the same way that these things can go in other sort of spaces. So yeah, man, I think that was fire.
Most definitely. I think for me this is just such a good conversation because it's exploring again just the ability for, you know, people that want to learn how to take what they're doing to the next level and grow it. We go from starting something, but we also need to go into how do we scale stuff. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for engaging with us. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe. Engage with us on social media. Follow our Instagram. You know we always put out the content for you guys to consume. I think that content we put out on Instagram. There's so much engagement on it because I know it's basically just the powerful snippets and notes that you guys can utilize as well. I think continue to send us your questions as well if you want to engage with us even more, or you want to basically call in and have a conversation with us on a subject. Shoot us a DM, shoot us a question in the comments or something like that, so basically that we can reach out to you and have this conversation. Right. Thank you very much, my brother. Appreciate this conversation all the time. Appreciate every time we pull up another week, another episode.
Yes, sir.
This is D&D, Dial and Discover. One time.
Danke. That's bang.